And right now we're going to go back to Matt. He changed the batteries. And Matt, we're ready for you again, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Sorry about that. Hope this is louder.
Yes, better.
Great, thanks.
Better not, Matt.
A little bit.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. What we're going to do tonight is show you guys how to carve feet on the bottom of a piece. So what I want to do is, this is your feet profile are not limited to stubby little things that hold things up like on the bottom of a cauldron. You can turn any shape you want, and because you're turning it on a lathe, the bottom of it where it contacts the table or the shelf or whatever is always going to be flat and even, so you could turn a piece and put 5 legs on it if you wanted. So let me go here. This piece at the top, number 1, was a piece that I turned. I saw a square piece, a rectangular box somewhere in an advertisement, and said, you know, I could do that round. And I just turned the little feet on the bottom of it and carved them out. So that's a possibility. Picture number 2 here is a table legs. You could do something like this on the bottom of your piece if you wanted to. And picture number 3 is what I call cauldron legs. They're just a little feet on the bottom of something to pick it up off the table a little bit and give it a little added extra. So feet can include any number, 2, 3, 4, etc., because the bottom is true and level. So you can lay the piece out, the legs profile on the lathe, or with a compass points or protractor. And I find it helpful to mark out which parts you're going to carve away, because you don't want to carve away something that you wanted to keep. And you can do the carving on the lathe or off it, and you can finalize the feet shape on the lathe. And your profiles are limited by your own imagination. And you can also use carving feet to get rid of bad wood. So let's say you've got a crack in a piece on the bottom and you want to carve it away, you can do that by carving legs. So when you turn the piece and when you finish the bottom, the goal is to blend the sides of the piece with the bottom, the interior of the bottom. So you do that while carving, but when you turn the bottom off and shape the interior of the legs, that's something that you got to keep in mind. And of course, whenever you're carving something, you don't carve too deeply. You can always take more wood off, but it's hard to put it back on. So creep up on your final lines, and the last details can be done with sanding. All right, so here's this piece again. I typically use a recess or a mortise to hold the piece in the jaws because I'm going to cut out the middle anyway. So, you turn the top section like you would a normal bowl, leave room for the feet and legs, and carve the profiles. So I'm going to start with that and show you basically how to do that. Now, before I wade into this, I want to talk a little bit about, wrong direction, catenary curves. Okay, this is something a lot of turners work on catenary curves, and basically what you're doing with a catenary curve is you're hanging a chain, allowing gravity to make it fall freely, and that helps you define the shape of your piece. Catenary curve is the St. Louis arch, which is the middle top picture, is basically an inverted catenary curve, and that's shown on the rightmost picture. There's a lot of ways you can do this. Let me switch back to my view here. I've got a chain here, okay? And if I'm hanging it between 2 points, I'm generating on a catenary curve. If I bring it closer together, I still have a catenary curve. If I shorten it up and raise one side to higher than the other, then I still have a catenary curve. And this is a really good way to help check the shape and the curve of your piece. Towards me like this a little bit, so that you can, to get a pleasing curve, and so you're not making a dog bowl or whatever. So anyway, that's I wanted to talk a little bit about that. The group of us is trying to understand ways to help express bowl design without hammering somebody's hammering somebody's piece in a critique. And we thought that the best way to do it might be to just discuss bowl design. And I would recommend several of our group members, Paul Hanaby or whatever, however you pronounce your name, Paul, I'm sorry. But he's got some real good stuff on his website about bowl design also. All right, so any questions so far?
No.
I'm cool. I just want to see you do it.
Okay, so I'm going to switch. This is a little piece of pole barn Doug's choke cherry. It's got a nice crack in it. I just turned it round and I put a little mortise in the bottom of it, and that's what I'm going to mount on the lathe. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn the outside and show you how I set up the profiles, and then I'm going to switch to a piece that I've already hollowed out the bowl, and show and define the legs so that you guys don't have to watch me hollow out a bowl, and to save time. All right. So let's say that I want my legs to start here. All right. And so this part here is going to be my bowl.
Call from network.
It's not me. I got my phone on hold.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Matt, is that on your line?
That's not me.
All right.
Nothing.
What's your problem?
Hold on. Stand by, Matt. Stand by 1 second.
How was your day?
Like what?
All right, Matt, I'm coming back to you now. I think I can do this and get you back.
I unmuted myself.
Okay. All right. You're back. I'm sorry. Apologize for that.
No problem. So I'm just defining my shape here. And maybe I'll put a, so now let's say I want my feet here, and the bottom of my feet are going to be here. This part here is what's going to sit on the table. Okay. So
sorry to ask, the bowl on the right is what you're going to put the feet on, correct?
yeah, this
Okay.
here, let me do this, okay? The legs or the feet is just going to be this part here, okay? So this is the bottom, this part sits on the table. This is the legs that I'm going to carve, and this is the bowl, okay? Is that clear?
Well, your waist block, technically your waist block is where that last cut you made. It's
This
like a
is
party
waist.
cut.
At this point, this is waist. And I
Okay.
made that decision like on the fly just right this second, okay?
It's really cool, guys, if you lay this out on a piece of graph paper, so you get a better idea of where you're going and how you're going to get there.
So, and I'm just playing around with the feature here, and I want to define, get a nice cut here on my legs. And okay, now at this point, what I would do is take the tailstock away and hollow the bowl and sand it. Okay, but I'm going to switch to a piece that's already been done that too, to save time, because we all
magic of video. The
What's
magic
that?
of video. It's the magic of video.
That's right. So, and this piece was a little funky, so I put a tenon on it because it was all bark and stuff, but same general principles. So this piece here is the same sort of thing, only I've done the bowl, the bowl. You know what? I want to put this on my vacuum chuck. So let me switch that. Any questions so far?
No, but it's 30 minutes after. I'm going to put you on hold for 1 second. Go ahead and make your change, folks. And then we'll get right back into Matt with the demonstration. But in the meantime, I just want to let you folks know that we're growing. Our program is going to get even larger than we are right now. And that's with the generosity of one of our members, and who's also a demonstrator and also a participator and also advisory team member. You see, we all got a little job here. So we're growing, and effective next week, March 3rd, we will not be at this meeting number. Oh, we'll be at this time, and we'll have the same kind of meeting, but for more guys and gals. See, we got a new truck. Big tailgate, plenty of room. Bring the donuts and the coffee. We're going to be there next week, and you're invited. How do you get there? Well, we have a website, and it'll be updated. But right now, this is what's, see that code on the bottom of the screen? That is our membership code or our meeting code for Zoom. If you go into Zoom and you type in join meeting, it's going to say what you're meeting. There it is. 860-425-52131. You type that in, and it will connect you directly to our meeting. And it's real simple process, but and if it ever changes, it will change on our website. So that's where you need to go if you want to be part of the program. And we welcome you and your friends. We can't wait. It's going to be a great, great evening next week when we start off. But I really, really want you there. Go ahead, Matt. We're back on you. You're on vacuum, Chuck.
All right. Yep. The background noise you hear is the vacuum chuck. That didn't work. Hang on. Here. All right. Let me turn this off. I'm not sure that's any better.
Not really.
Any better? No. Okay. It's some lighting issues. Let me fix that. So this piece here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the tailstock up while I take out the bottom here to define the legs, and then I'll do some carving.
Okay.
So that's the first thing I'm going to do. All right. Hopefully that's enough. Guess not. So you need some light, but not a lot of light. How's that? That's better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, much better, much better.
All right. So
it looks like it's wobbling, but that's just a Chatorians blinking out, right?
Sure, that's what it is.
Yeah.
This is a piece. This has got some bark on it, so that's what you're seeing. Now, if you're doing long legs, then you can hollow this stuff out with a, with a Forstner bit, and that'll save you some time. Now, one of the things I'm watching here is I'm watching the side of my piece here. So the side of my piece, see if I can show that over here. The side of my piece, it needs to meet the bottom on the interior. So I'm watching that very carefully. And one of the ways you can check that is by drilling through the side in a place where you're going to cut it out, so that you can see how close you're getting to where you're going to be, where you want to be. Is that confusing, or is that clear? Is anybody
Oh, it's
understand that?
like a cheater hole on when you're trying to make a platter very thin.
Yeah.
The pierce or whatever, you put a cheater hole in so you can measure at that point.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing, is you're putting a cheater hole in so you can watch it. So you know when you're deep enough.
If you're just tuning in, we have Matt Hamby joining us this evening, and we're doing, or he is doing, some feet on a bowl. And you're welcome to join in a little while. We'll open up the mics. So if you have a question for him, that's the time to do it. And we'll resume gallery right after this also. It's your club. You're welcome to participate.
Now, I'm going to get a bunch of questions about what the best way to carve feet is. And I have tried a bunch of different things. I've tried using my scroll saw. I've tried using my band saw. I've tried using one of those things that comes with the funky blades. I've tried using a coping saw. And the method that I use is I literally carve it away with saber-toothed burrs. Okay? And for me, that's been the most efficient and the most easily controlled. One of the things that I've found, especially when I've turned funky cracked wood and I'm trying to, and it's thin, the legs are thin or the feet are thin, is that some of those saws, especially the band saw or the, I don't know what you call that device that's got a sort of vibrating saw on the end of it.
Bait and saw.
Yeah, I've shattered some of the thin walls on these pieces. So what I'm doing now is I think that my sides are about where they need to be, maybe a little deeper here. And I'm going to try and finish off the bottom bit here before I take it to carving. Okay. So I need to put another cut here. This part here. Doesn't matter how many legs I carve, but this part here, this space here is going to sit on the table. So if I carve 3 legs or if I carve 6 legs, this part here will still sit on the table, the bottom of the piece. So I want to carve this. I want to go a little deeper here. Now, this contour on the inner part of this wall here, I'm trying to match the outer contour on my feet or legs here, because that's going to be the inside of it. And this bottom part of the bowl is going to be the bottom of my piece. So I'm riding my bevel across the bottom of the bowl. All right. Any questions about any of this so far?
You're going to take that center point completely out and smooth that bottom out, correct?
Absolutely, I am. But I'm trying to keep it in here as long as I can for the support.
As long as Matt's making those slice cuts, he won't have a lot of brisance, as they say, on a grain, because he's slicing it off, not gouging it off.
Yep, and I can get a slice if I ride the bevel like this. Can y'all see that? If I ride the bevel like this with the face closed in like this, the wood spinning around this way is meeting the tool edge that's cutting at a very steep angle. So I get a really nice smooth slicing cut. And at this point, I'm going to try and just cut this off. It's close. Yeah, we're loose now. So I'm going to take it down real carefully and real slow with real thin cuts here, and then make a final cut across the face like this. Very gently. And at this point, I'd sand. All right. Now, the fun part. I'm going to try to lay out 4 legs here, and I'm going to try and lay them out so that I cut 2 here and 2 here. You know what? Let me do. So I'm going to lay them out with a Sharpie so that y'all can see what I'm doing. So I want 1 here and 1 here, but that gives me 1 here and 1 here. And then I want 1 here and 1 here and 1 here and 1 here. Do I like those?
Do they all sit on a flat? I thought the lowest one.
Because the bottom surface is, this surface here is flat.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter how I carve stuff away. So I'm carving away this stuff here, and this stuff here, and this stuff here, and this stuff here. And
I got you. The light had me going for a minute.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to extend my sort of lines around so I can see so I can see it on the other side here too. All right. So I use Saber-Toothed Burrs primarily. And I use them on my Fordham. So let me get that here. So this is the green one on my Fordham, which is what they call coarse. And get some of this out of the way here so I can put this here.
Matt, show us that whole tool so we can see it.
Okay, hang on. The tool is it's a hanging motor. Okay, so it's got this hanging thing, and usually it sits beside my desk where I carve behind me here. But it looks like this, and it's got a shaft and a foot pedal. So let me get that plugged in here.
And well, unlike the Dremel, this thing's got some serious power to it.
Yeah, well, I will use the Dremel also. And you could do this with just the Dremel. Now, when I carve, and rule number 1 is get your tool rest out of the way. When I carve, I try to use a 3-point stance. And a 3-point stance is 3 points of contact. So 1 point of contact is the tool itself, the tool burr itself. The other is my second hand and my third hand. So I've got 1, 2, and 3 points of contact on the wood. So at this point, I just start carving. Let me make sure I'm on here. All right. And if you want, you can lock your piece with, on your lathe with your spindle lock, and be sure to creep up on your lines. Don't go over.
That
So
thing's
there's my
really
line.
aggressive.
And use dust collection.
That cutter really goes.
Yep, and I'm not really pressing all that much. So, and I don't want to go into the bottom of my bowl here. So
there's a question about what kind of cutter is that?
that is called a Saber-Toothed Burr, made by the company called Saber-Tooth, Saburrtooth. They make primarily wood and plastic cutting burrs and wheels. They make them for, people who do ice carving and wood carving. So they come in. This is a 1/4-inch shank on this one for the Fordham, and I have a number of the burrs for the Dremel also. So I'm gonna shift to another Saber-Tooth Burr, which is the white, which is the extra fine, and this is in my cordless Dremel. Okay, so I'm going to use that to do very fine details to creep up again on my legs.
The name of the tool is on our chat. Before you leave this evening, folks, save the chat.
So you refine it, and Saber-Tooth makes. I'm going to switch to a different burr here in the Fordham. So this is one that I like to use on to get rid of this bit here, to knock this down a little bit more. So this is, instead of the coarse one, the green, this is the yellow one. You can't really tell how yellow. There, it's a little bit of yellow, but this one's a little bit longer. And one of the techniques that I do here while I'm carving this is I'm going to come across like this and roll the tool across like this to get this smoothed out a little bit more.
Looks like the different heads are easy to change, huh, Matt?
Yeah, I really like the Fordham. I mean, it's just like any other thing you're doing on the Fordham. They're pretty quick to change. So I use the Fordham on a lot of my power sanding, my final sanding. So, but it's just as it's just as easy to change. So, I mean, basically, what you do is it's just like a Dremel. I mean, you have to lock the spindle thing, and then you just pull the bit out. And what this is a sanding cylinder, and it's got a bit of foam in here, and this is 400 grit paper on here, and then I use that, or I use the Dremel sanding thing to do the final sanding. So, and I'm basically going to roll it across my opening here.
Matt, what's the best way to clean them saber-tooths when they clog up?
Well, I have a brass brush that I keep a brass brush with my Saber-Tooth burrs, and if that doesn't work, you can burn it off with a torch. And I've done both.
Yeah, I know. You better low flame.
Yeah, well, if you I tend to get a little impatient, so I've caught myself carving wet wood before, so that clogs up the burrs pretty good. So, and then you repeat it. You do 4 more of them. So you cut these parts out. So that's basically how it's done. Questions?
What if we had to power sanding with a inch or 2 inch disc and work over that?
I do that too. I will use a disc to creep up here and to creep up here. So you could certainly use that. I get my sanding mandrels. I made my sanding mandrels. Didn't we talk about that before at a previous meeting?
Yes, sir.
So I've made my sanding mandrels. Like this one here is basically a bolt and a washer and some foam and some Velcro. So I get sandpaper on the end of it, or you can buy them from Klingspor. I've got some that I made from engine valves. So that's an engine valve with glue and foam. I've had this for years, so I've got 2 or 3 of these. So I live in Detroit. We got a lot of engine valves floating around. So, but that's basically how you carve a section out. You carve your section out, and then you carve the next section out. And when you're done, you've got legs. And because this part here, your bottom surface is all flat, it will all sit flat on, on whatever, your legs are all lined up. They're all true.
And you turn those legs to where you have a nice sweep coming out. But a little while ago, you showed a slide of another one that had an offset more to it, like a flatter slide.
Let me go to here and show that. That was this piece here, the one on the front. So yeah, this was done in another demo, and you can see there's more Saber-Tooth stuff in the background there. But yeah, I did this in a demo, and I was saying you could get really crazy with this, and said, here's something to, so I showed some people how to do this. So
yeah, a lot of folks believe you can't turn that.
Have you seen Rebecca DeGroot's work? She turns her legs too.
Yeah. Rebecca's work is way off the other end, which is beautiful.
What was your source for the sanding drums?
Give me a second to find that. They are.
Okay, Matt Harber is doing a demonstration on putting feet on bowls, how to carve them in.
GregDorrance.com. Let me switch to another camera here. GregDorrance.com.
There you go.
Okay. And he's got all different kinds and sizes, and they come with sandpaper. And they I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's got a little oblong deal that you lock the sandpaper in this little slot here. So, and it comes with a little tool to do that. Let me see if I can show how that works.
All right, our webmasters put Greg Dorrance's name up in our chat right now.
So, and you buy this, the soft cloth back. So it's got this, it comes with this little square tool, okay? And you just basically turn it. And it unlocks it, and you can pull the sandpaper out and change it. So it's got this little sort of oblong deal that's stuck in there, and that locks the sandpaper in. You can see the sandpaper. Okay, and that's how that works. You just turn it to lock it. So, and I have a couple of these, and you can buy them in 1/4-inch shanks like this is. This is what fits in my Fordham. That's what this one is. And I don't know what else he's got, but he's got other a wide array of stuff on there. So I use those a lot, especially when you're doing carving to even things out. You can get some really good surfaces on there. Questions?
Oh, come on, you have questions. Come on.
After watching you do it, I don't want to say looks easy, but it doesn't look near as complicated as I thought it was going to be to begin with.
Yeah, one of the things I like about the Saber-Toothed Burrs, and I've tried all kinds of different things. I've tried the wood rasps from Harbor Freight and so on. One of the things, and I have Cuts-All Burrs. I've tried a whole bunch of different things. One of the things I really like about the Saber-Toothed Burrs is they seem to stay on the wood better. They're more controllable. Because when you're first learning how to how to carve things, those burrs, you tend to take too deep a bite, and those burrs will skitter around the wood. Watch your hands, they'll take skin off, okay? But for my money, the saber-toothed burrs seem to be more consistently stay on the wood better. So, I would encourage people to try other things and try what you have. I think the first ones I did, I cut with the Dremel wood carving burrs, the high-speed carbide or whatever those things are that come with the Dremel. And they work, they work. I have.
Are you buying those saber-tooth burrs?
What's that?
Where are you purchasing the saber-tooth burrs?
You can purchase them online at sabertooth.com. They have burrs and wheels. I have some for my big wheels, 4.5-inch wheels for my angle grinders. Those work good too.
Ronnie, that information is currently on our chat.
Okay, good.
I am
Doug?
sort of lucky here because Saber-Tooth is in the Detroit area, so I know some of the reps, so I can get them for a discount. So
I have a quick question. Would you use like painter's tape to keep the feet from vibrating while you're trying to carve that? Or
absolutely you can. One of the things I would be concerned with is getting your painter's tape caught up in the drill burr or the carving burrs. Your mileage may vary. If you're cutting through it, then maybe that works good. I don't know, but I know that I have, when I tried those vibrating saws and on my bandsaw, I have broken the thin legs, the profiled legs off. So I tend to stick with the burrs, the carving burrs, because I think I have more control over them, and I don't break as many. So.
And it's not a race.
Yeah, take your time. I bit kind of deep with the green one here when I was carving it at first to get in, and I feel confident doing that because I did this demo on Sunday for my own club. So I've got recent practice, but like Eddie says, take your time. It's not a race. Take your time. Work at a comfortable speed. But
Matt, what is the RPM of that Fordham?
The tool is a Fordham. Fordham has a couple of motors. FOREDOM.
Right. What is the RPM?
Hold on. All right, Matt, I'm coming back to you, Matt. Matt, unmute yourself, Matt. Okay.
All right. I think that the big box stores like Home Depot might sell them. I know you can get them online too. A number of places sell the Fordhams, but you can do this with a Dremel too. So,
I find the Fordham is very friendly because you have a variable speed foot pedal.
Yeah, that's really useful. I really like that.
Yeah.
What's the RPM range on them?
I don't know.
Slow, medium,
I
fast?
never.
Usually around 20 to 26,000.
I usually never run it when I'm doing this. I usually never run it flat out. I'm never powered all the way down. Maybe sanding I am, but I don't ever run it straight out.
I have a tuned down rheostat mounted on my foot pedal, so that if I step way down on a pedal, I don't go to 100%. I can dial tune it in and out of 100%. And that helps if you're doing fine work in case your weight shifts or whatever. You don't get surprised.
Yeah, because it's got some serious power to it. The Fordham does, and I think they now make one that sits on the desktop, and you have a rheostat you can control. They've got some newer machines that are really interesting.
You can add that desktop mount to any of them.
Yep.
Let me add a note of caution. If you're using that Fordham with that Saber-Tooth on your lap, make sure that you have a leather apron on. It will grab cloth and wrap it. And if you have a shirt on, it's going to tear half your shirt off before you can even slow it down. So it bounces off of leather. So make sure you have a heavy leather apron, not cloth, but leather.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. You could possibly break the shaft in your tool, and you could possibly, hurt yourself too. So when I first started using my Fordham, I did skin myself a few times. So yeah,
especially on the saber-toothed teeth, because they will grab cloth badly. I was doing a bunch of carving with it, and I had it grab it, and I had went to the leather aprons.
Now,
that's
do you wear kind of a protective glove on your hand or anything like that when you're using them?
Yes, I do in general, because I've got some hand issues from past injuries. But a glove, better it takes the glove than takes your skin off.
Yeah.
So yeah. And they make carving gloves that are pretty robust. So
okay.
Yeah.
So hey Matt.
Yes,
so between greenwood and drywood, can you expect the same type of problems you sometimes have with greenwood, with warpage or cracking with the feet?
Yeah, it's never really a good idea to carve greenwood.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't, if I'm carving something that's dried. If you're using a reciprocating tool or you're using hand tools, that's a different story. Yeah, things warp. I mean, and if you're doing things with greenwood and you desperately need to do feet on greenwood, do 3 feet, okay? Because 3 feet just gets 3 points of contact. It won't wobble on the table.
Got it.
Yeah, I've got the desktop, Matt. It turns 40,000 RPMs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. But I just heard from Josh Smith, a Fordham 1/8 horsepower, 1/6 horsepower at Home Depot big box runs at 18,000 RPM. So.
Okay, that's comparable to the Dremel, but certainly the Fordhams have more. The Fordhams have a lot more power. They're very powerful. So and everything that Trey said about the possible problems, he's absolutely right. I have done every single one of those. So I've wrapped up a shirt in the bits and so on. So yeah.
Any other questions for Matt?
Yeah, Eddie, this is Terry. Can you highlight me? I want to show you something. Can you find me?
Was that?
I was seeing if you could find me to highlight me. I wanted to show you guys something.
Okay, you got it.
I don't know if Eddie can show me.
Who is it?
Can you find me, Eddie?
What's your name?
Terry.
Now I got you, Terry.
Yep.
There you go. This is something I wanted to show you. This is something I made up years ago for my power carve. And it's just a regular rheostat out of a light rheostat. And then I just got a duplex cord in there and I got it wired separately. This is the red one is for the potentiometer. And the white one is regular 110 volt if I want to run something else. And I find this a lot more friendly than the foot pedal because I can get controlled speed out of it all the time. I just lay this on the work surface and plug my tool into it. And this is just a cord that plugs into the wall. Comes in pretty handy.
Let's caution folks, you can't use this on a regular capacitor start motor.
The only thing I would say is the foot pedal is the thing stops the minute you take your foot off the pedal. So, I don't know if there's any extra controls in there or not, but I think that's a pretty useful thing to have. Yep. So, if it starts getting, I don't even have to take my hand off the tool. I just pick my foot up. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to reach for a rheostat. So, your mileage may vary. I mean, Terry's solution may work for you. I have another carver that I got the foot pad with, the micromotor, and I used it for 10 minutes and decided that was absolutely not something I wanted with that. So with the Fordham, I really like having the foot pedal. With my micro carver, I wouldn't use a foot pedal. So, it's all depending on what you're using it for and what the job is. So.
Okay, just heard from Gordon down at Alamo Wood Turners. He said for a starter carver, Harbor Freight has a rotary carver similar and designed to Fordham that sells for $44. It runs at 15,000 RPMs. It's got a foot control. So he's right for a beginning carver. If you plan on doing a lot, that's going to last a little.
Yeah,
Now,
I've had my Fordham for I don't know, at least 10 years. So this is the same one. It's a real workhorse. Never a problem.
I have several of them, and I tell you the one I like the best is the Fordham TX. It's a DC, and you have a lot better fine control in your foot speed. It seems to have a lot better speed control. It's a little more expensive, but you know, if you're going to be doing a lot of it and concerned about the lower speeds, it's the better one to use.
Well, a TX is from Texas, so that makes that.
It actually has a lot of torque at the low speed. It's better than, I think it's a DC versus an AC motor on it. It takes different controllers for it.
Okay, thank you, Trey. Appreciate that update. All right, folks, with that, we're going to thank Matt for his contribution this evening and his great demonstration. Matt, we're going to see you again in a little bit, but we appreciate this tonight.
Good job, Matt.
You come up with some other way to put feet on something, we'll be looking for it.
Yeah, I'm open to suggestions. That cheater hole thing was a new tip for me that somebody told me in my club meeting this past weekend. So, you know, you never stop learning. So I'm more than open to, you know, I'm just telling you what works for me. So I'm more than happy to hear what anybody else has to say about anything. So.
Well, I'm doing a platter. I want to carve the center out for a transparent. I mean, a shadow or whatever. And I need to have it about 1/8 of an inch. That's hard to gauge with a caliper from the, you know, going around the outside of a piece that you're holding on a vacuum chuck. The cheater hole works, make a little feeler to go with it. You can mark it and read it. Now, I'm doing a video on that right now. So
cool.
All right. Thank you again, Matt. Appreciate the help.
My pleasure.
Thank
That
you,
was
Matt.
great demo.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Good job, Matt.
Very good.
Keep them coming, buddy.
Great demo.
Thank you, Matt.
Good demo, Matt.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, folks, I got to